agreeing that the rainbow sprinkles are the way forward with the donut?
Absolutely, because then you get the different textures between soft donuts.
Could you two get your asses over here right now?
Hey guys, and welcome to part 3 of Battlefield History and Lore. In the last episode, we took a look at the second game of the Battlefield franchise, Battlefield Vietnam. In this episode, we're going to look at its sequel, and some would argue the best Battlefield game of all time, Battlefield 2. On June 21st, 2005, EA and DICE released the third game in the Battlefield franchise, Battlefield 2. The first Battlefield to be set in a modern setting, using modern weapons systems. Battlefield 2 pits the player in a clash between the US Marines, China, and the fictional Middle Eastern Coalition. The story takes place in the early 21st century during a fictional world war between the three powers, with the Russians joining the fray in the Special Forces expansion pack. It is known that the European Union and the United States are allied to fight the Chinese and the MEC, but it's unknown if the Chinese and the MEC are allied. The game takes place on the different front lines. The Middle East and China are being invaded by the United States and the EU forces, and the United States is being invaded by the Chinese and the Mech forces. And that about sums up the fairly vague storyline that Battlefield 2 had. Gameplay in Battlefield had a substantial change compared to its prequel, 1942 in Vietnam, most having to do with teamwork and collaboration. Battlefield 2 also had a new game engine that included an overhauled physics engine, dynamic lighting, and much more realistic material penetration. Battlefield 2 was primarily a multiplayer game played via the internet or local area network. Single player in Battlefield 2 came with 3 difficulty levels, using the same maps as multiplayer, filling those maps with 16 computer-controlled players, while online mode allowed for 64 players to battle it out over massive maps. Battlefield 2 had 2 game modes, Conquest, which the original Battlefield was famous for, and Cooperative mode, which was just Conquest with bots filling out the teams. Like all Battlefield games, the player could choose from a variety of infantry classes, each class of soldier being equipped with different weaponry appropriate to their role. So for example, an assault soldier had general purpose gear such as an assault rifle and a grenade launcher, and a little extra armor, where a medic could carry a first aid kit and a defibrillator, the anti-tank carries a rocket or a missile to use against heavy armor, etc. Player classes are further reduced into 2 other classes called Heavy and Light. Heavy has reduced damage done to the torso, but lower stamina, meaning you can't sprint as far, whereas Light had higher stamina, but you had less armor. Battlefield 2 had a very tight focus on cooperation. The biggest change in this direction was the implementation of squads. Players were able to form squads of up to 6 soldiers in order to move effectively and work as a team. Up to 9 squads were permitted per team, each squad having a number and a name for identification. Members of each squad had the ability to communicate with one another via Battlefield 2's voice-over IP system. Squad leaders in each squad may assign their squad a variety of objectives. An example would be moving or to attack a target or a specific location. Orders may also be given by a team's commander. Squad leaders are able to issue direct requests to the commander for assets, such as artillery fire on a target, a vehicle drop, or a supply drop, and squad leaders had direct voice-over IP communication with the commander. One of the biggest shifts in Battlefield came from the ability to spawn on your squad leader if he isn't dead, meaning players no longer were limited to capture points to spawn, and keeping your squad leader alive was a top priority for a skilled team, allowing players to quickly regroup after taking casualties. Another impressive feature that DICE has decided to bring back for Battlefield 4 is the Commander mode. Commander is a position on each team played by one member of the team. Any player can apply to be the commander at the beginning of the match, but priority goes to the player of the highest rank. The commander is the player who can open the commander's screen, which is an interface similar to that of a real-time strategy game. This shows the player an overview of the battlefield as a whole, or he or she can zoom in and view parts of the map in real time as the battle is going on. The commander also has control of various assets, such as artillery strikes, vehicle and supply drops, and the ever-useful UAV. Communication for the commander is accomplished by either sending orders directly in the game, or via voice-over IP directly to his squad leaders. These tools allow the commander to strategically coordinate their forces on the battlefield. Another new feature for the Battlefield franchise are unlockables. Players could earn rewards such as ribbons and badges and medals for certain in-game accomplishments. Badges and ribbons being the easiest to obtain, while medals are usually much harder and require an extensive amount of playtime. As players ascend through the ranks, they are given the ability to unlock certain weapons. Each time a player has attained a certain rank, they are given the opportunity to unlock one of 7 unlockable weapons, one for each class, which they may subsequently use in place of the standard class's weapon, giving the game a somewhat RPG-like feature progression. Battlefield 2 had a massive list of vehicles, with the US getting the F-18, the F-35, and the F-15 fighters, the M1 Abram main battle tank, and the LAV-25 APC. And then of course there's my personal favorite, the AH-1 Super Cobra attack helicopter. Whereas the Middle East Coalition gets the Mi-28 Havoc, the Mi-18 transport chopper, the T-90 heavy tank, and the BTR-90 APC, this being just a small sampling of Battlefield's vehicle list. One of my favorite features of Battlefield 2 is the support it got and still has from the modding community, with the community creating a massive list of mods and total conversions for the title, such as Eve of Destruction 2, which took place in Vietnam, Point of Existence 2, which is a massive upgrade to the vehicle list and maps, and my personal favorite, Project Reality, which focuses on the realism of Battlefield 2, making the game much more in line with real-world stats on weapons, on how vehicles operate, and making teamwork and cooperation completely essential for victory in the game. Battlefield 2 received widespread critical acclaim, much like the original Battlefield, getting an aggregated score of 91% from 55 reviews on Metacritic. It received a 5 out of 5 on XPlay and GameSpy, and receiving a 94% from PC Gamers, stating, "Its finely tuned maps and balanced gameplay prove that you can improve upon perfection." Battlefield 2 sold 1 million copies in its first month after release, with a total by July 2006 of 2,225,000 copies worldwide. Battlefield 2 took one of the best multiplayer first-person shooters and improved on just about every aspect, giving us the unlock system, true team-based gameplay on a massive scale. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of History and Lore. In the next episode, we're going to take a look at the future with Battlefield 2142. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more modding goodness, or TGN for more general gaming goodness, and as always, thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.
Outpost is being overrun.